Hey everybody, Carl Schoof here from Snorkel.tv, and I'm real excited about continuing our little discussion of object-oriented programming that I started a few exercises ago when we discovered how the GreenSock homepage animation was built. Now I have another little exercise to go through with you that is not going to rely on any third-party libraries like GreenSock, so the people who aren't familiar with those things, aren't going to get turned off right away, although I highly recommend you use that tweening engine. And if you guys remember, I had a little AS3 coding challenge recently where we spun around the arm of a Ferris wheel, and the challenge just revolved around getting the bucket here to always stay level as the arm spun. And after this contest, I was just thinking, man, I really want to build a whole Ferris wheel, and wouldn't this be a great use of OOP, object-oriented programming? And it just so happened that one of my loyal watchers and listeners really wanted to win a Club GreenSock membership. And I said, listen, you can't just win it. So what you can do, though, is earn it, right? So I gave him just very vague specs on how I would like a Ferris wheel class to operate. And I know I've read a lot of books about OOP, and they all say, oh, with object-oriented programming, each object has its own little role and its properties, and it's not necessarily always aware of what's going on with other objects around it. If you think of a car, how it has brakes and wheels and an engine and a key and a starter and the headlights, those are all objects that are needed to make a car run, but the light doesn't necessarily know that the brakes are on, the wheels don't know that the seat is reclined and all that stuff. And I always say to myself, show me the car, show me the plane. So today what I'm going to do is show you the Ferris wheel. All right, and Cor Van Doren, who took up this little task for me, did an awesome job of making it very easy for anybody to come in and create a Ferris wheel with just a few lines of code, because all the internals of how a Ferris wheel is built and how it is run is really hidden in a few separate classes. And we're not going to be focusing on all the math to make it spin and all the math to separate the arms by certain degrees. What I want to show you is that when you start putting your code into separate classes, you gain the reusability of these objects without cluttering up your main app code, so to speak. You may not think, oh, what am I going to use the Ferris wheel? The idea here, though, is that you can use this Ferris wheel 8,000 times in this project or in other projects. I've always had this idea for a game in the back of my head where you would be shooting pigs with a slingshot and they'd like hit structures that contain birds that you'd blow up and stuff. And for one of the levels, I really wanted to have Ferris wheels in it, but I just haven't really gotten around to doing any of that. And I sort of know it's going to be a real moneymaker someday. I was going to call it Happy Pigs, but anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here. What we're going to do is show you how that once you structure your code inside separate classes like a Ferris wheel class or an arm class or a bucket class, that it's not going to clutter up your main application code. So when I build Happy Pigs eventually, I don't have to worry about all the physics for putting a pig in a slingshot to interfere with the code that I have for making the Ferris wheel in the background spin. All right. So one thing I want to point out before we go further is that there's probably 8 different ways of doing this, and I just really want to show you the process and the structure more than, again, the most accurate, precise way of doing it. All right. So keeping that in mind, it's going to be really light. I don't want to scare anybody off with scary stuff off the bat, but I do want to show you that once we've built this Ferris wheel class, we have this little toggle button where I can stop it and start it. I also can individually talk to any Ferris wheel with buttons and say, I want you to play, I want you to stop, I want you to play, I want you to stop. So when I talked to Cor and gave him the main specs, I just basically said, I want someone to be able to create a Ferris wheel. When you create a Ferris wheel, I want you to be able to specify how many arms it's going to have, and I want to have very simple methods for making that Ferris wheel play and making that Ferris wheel stop. He came back to me with an awesome feature-packed example, and I'm definitely going to show that to you, and I'm going to make his code fully available to you. But I did take a little bit of executive control and trimmed some things down just so that, again, it wouldn't be too scary for the beginner. I would love for you guys to look at his way and my way, compare them. If you have a better way, you know what? Let me know. Make a comment, zip it up, link to it, let everybody see, you know? So, again, I look forward to the discussion this is going to start, and in just a second, we're going to get into the code. But you should know that we'll be able to make as many Ferris wheels as you want, with as many arms, at whatever size, and it's going to be beautiful. All right, folks, I'll catch you soon.